BTB listeners, thank you so much for checking out today's episode. Listen, if this episode inspires you, do me a favor, take 5 seconds to shoot me a like and subscribe to the podcast. There are several more exciting guests that are in the pipeline, and I just can't thank you enough for your continued support, and let's keep paying the mission forward. In today's episode, I explore the transformative concept of possibility projection through some of my personal stories and coaching insights. The episode illustrates the shift from the victim mentality to a mindset focused on dreams and aspirations. I emphasize breaking free from limitations, embracing failure, and proactively projecting a positive future. Tune in and you'll be encouraged to adopt possibility thinking to overcome negativity and achieve an extraordinary life.
Don't be afraid of the dark. Be careful with stars. Not every light is gonna guide you, baby.
Welcome to the BTB Project, designed to empower listeners to identify their why and to live their best lives no matter the circumstances. My name is Kollman, a former athlete and motivational coach. I've had the opportunity to inspire thousands through my story and help accomplish what they are built to be. You'll be encouraged by each and every episode, and let's get into it.
Yeah, when I blow up, I'ma soar high like Peter Pan. In real life, be living out my dreams. If I'm waking up, it's in a foreign land.
It's time to shift our perspective. And in today's episode, if you are ready for a quantum leap into how you perceive and engage in your life, then you're tuning in to the right podcast. We're going to dive deep into what I believe is a critical distinction between living from a place of history and memory versus vision and what we can dream of doing. You see, a lot of us unknowingly replay the same scenarios based off of our past experiences. We actually have what they call a victim's mentality. But what if you could shift to a life that's driven by your dreams, your aspirations, and the untapped potential of your imagination? There's a topic that I came across that I think will be important for you to understand and impact you as the listener. And it's called possibility projection. What is possibility projection? It's your ability to craft and live into a future fueled by your aspirations. What if failure wasn't the end? What if your failure was a stepping stone on a path to greatness? As a coach and a former Division I tennis player, failure comes up a lot. I think about matches I lost in college, not making a particular spot on my team. And then fast forwarding as a coach, I think about those state championships that slipped away, those league championships, those opportunities to maximize a result that I really wanted. And these questions come up often in my life. And I remember coming across a quote: "What would you do if you knew you wouldn't fail?" I'm like, would I approach things differently if I knew I wasn't going to fail? This is a simple but yet profound question that sparked a revolution in my thinking. And it shifted from a mindset of limitation to one of boundless possibilities. You see, I grew up with this commonality that prized safety above all else, that it wasn't good to take a risk, that risk making was a bad decision, that it could hurt a lot of people, that you could fail. And the prevailing wisdom and noise that I always heard was to avoid failure at all cost, to stick with what is the well trodden paths of certainty. But deep within me, there was this yearning of something more, for a life lived beyond the confines of fear. So, what is this concept of probability projection, or thinking of moving ahead with what could be possible in the future? This type of thinking became my beacon of light in a lot of situations where I could have easily fell to the victim's mentality of what I wasn't going to be, or how I have not come up to the standard that I'm supposed to have in my life. It put me into a sea of doubt. It taught me to embrace failure not as a deterrent, but as a teacher. This is a necessary part of the journey towards any success that you have in your life. So, armed with this newfound projection and perspective, I started to dare to dream bigger, to reach goals that once seemed out of reach. So, here I am 2 decades later into coaching, and I'm living proof that possibility thinking isn't just a philosophy, it's a way of life. And I want to share with you three key insights that have come from this journey of coaching and giving back to others to help you lean into what's possible in your life. The first piece is to escape the negative life stance. When we view the world through a lens of limitation, we inevitably scrum to negativity. But possibility thinking invites us to see beyond the constraints of our circumstances, to focus on the abundance rather than the scarcity by embracing a positive outlook. That's what helps us amplify the good in our lives and minimize the impact of the bad. A great example that comes to mind was having a situation as a coach where I had a few players that got injured one particular season as a high school tennis coach. And I had this kind of thought in my head for a brief period of time that, "Well, there's no way that we're going to reach our potential outcome goal of competing for a state championship because I just didn't have players that were ready to play." And from that, I just remember projecting it onto the other players, and they could feel the sense of uncertainty that I was projecting. And now all of a sudden, instead of being a motivator and tapping into people's goals and to encourage them, I was projecting a negative life stance that everybody else was picking up on. And as a leader of the team, I became someone that was actually hurting my team more than helping them. So I decided a few weeks into the season when these injuries came up to flip the script. And I tried to look at the silver lining and the positivity that could come from this. What I did know is even though 11 players competed for my team, I had 13, 14, 15 individuals that were all fighting for those 11 spots. And it made me realize that even though I didn't have some of my best quote unquote players representing the team, that I could maximize the remaining players on the team to what they're capable of. And that wasn't easy to do at first because back then I was such a young coach that I was fixated on there's no way out of this. There's no way that we can make things better. And it really pumped me out because if we can't make things better and I'm projecting that, there's no way to really talk myself out of it. But the moment I flipped it and providing hope and encouragement to the people that were going to represent the team moving forward. It flipped the entire script of the season. People started playing above their quote unquote potential because they found a reigniting an affirmation from their coach that they were capable and good enough to do extraordinary things. So our practices changed. My tone at matches changed. How I was communicating to the kids on and off the court changed. I was projecting something that no one thought was going to happen. But as you continue to project it, eventually there's a camaraderie, a connection to that projection that ends up creating the outcome you want. That's why the second step is really important, which is break free from dead ends. When you're positively projecting something in your life, you can't keep holding on to the past. I was blown away because one of the things that we like to do as human beings is we love to take photos and make memories. The thing about a photo, though, is that it's in the past. It's something that's not current or in the future, it's in the past. So, how often do we feel trapped by our circumstances? A photo we could take could be a good memory, but what if there's a photo out there that's a bad memory? And it convinces us that there's no way out from that bad memory. When you start possibility projecting, your thinking shatters the illusion of dead ends by revealing the multitude of paths that lie before us. We have so many options in our country, the United States. We have so many blessings and privileges and opportunities because of where we are. I know that we didn't sign up for that. There's some people that are in a whole lot more difficult situations than we are. But that's the reality of the situation. Is there's a tremendous amount of opportunities. So you got to remember that no matter what, when you're projecting a positive future, it reminds us that no matter how dire the circumstances are, there's always a way forward. If only we have the courage to seek it. Energy is energy. I remember doing this analogy with one of the players that I was helping who was just down in the dumps about how they were performing and had a lot more losses and wins in their career. And they came up to me and said, Coach, I don't think I can win anymore. I don't know how to win. And I remember grabbing a bunch of rocks, little pebbles, and I told them to open their hands. And I put all of the rocks into one hand and I took a couple pieces of the rock out and put it into the other hand. So one hand had far more rocks than the other. So what does that have to do with positive or possibility projection? Well, everything that was in that one hand was all of the negative thoughts that this particular student was telling me about. And in the other hand, which is the possibility vessel, things that are positive, things that can help someone move forward, obviously that hand had less rocks. So what do you do in that moment when there's so many rocks in that negative hand? Well, as I told you in the beginning of the analogy, is that I moved a couple rocks into the other hand because there was some positive things that this person had to say. But that's the power of it, is the rocks can be moved. All of the energy that you have into that negative rock pile, you can move those rocks slowly but surely into the positive. And that's where possibility thinking shatters the illusion of dead ends by revealing again the multitude of paths that lie before us. If we have the energy to be so negative, what happens if we project it in a different way? Instead of having the flashlight be on one area, you literally shift it to the other. That's a decision. That's not effort. It's a decision to shift your perspective. In order to have the awareness to shift perspective, we got to tap back into this piece that I shared on a previous episode, which is overcome shame. Shame has a way of holding us back. It convinces us that we are unworthy of love and belonging. But possibility projection offers a lifeline, a glimmer of hope in the darkest of moments. By recognizing an inherent value within ourselves and our experiences, we can begin to break free from the shackles of shame and embrace true potential. So now we're going back to the history and where we've come from. And step one of positive projection is you got to look at that stuff that's happened to you in the past. And are you going to shame yourself for it? Or are you going to look at it and said, this isn't going to define me? This isn't the moment that me who I am. I sometimes talk about the victim mentality a lot with what drove me to be a coach. I wanted to be like a coach I never had. And as I went down that path, I'll be honest, when I first started coaching, I was pretty damn selfish. I was a great encourager, I was a great motivator, but I was doing it to prove people wrong. I was doing it because I wanted to prove to myself that I don't want anybody to experience what I experienced as a player. All of the mean things that were said to me, all of the things that took away any positivity projection that I had. I felt like I was beat down and put down into the dumps. But it was this one moment in my life where it was just like, you know what? Enough of this. My goal is not to be better than anybody else or to be like a coach I never had, but my goal is just to be better than I used to be. Possibility thinking, it's not just a personal journey, it's a catalyst for change in the world around us. As we embrace the limitless potential within ourselves, we inspire others to do the same. And this is how we feed into an opportunity to where this whole victim mentality gets crushed. It's water under the bridge. We have things that fuel us, we have things that motivate us that can be either negative or positive, whatever it may be. But that's history. What's present? What's in the future? So here's my advice to you. To project possibility, you got to defeat the victim mentality. It's okay to go back into the past. It's okay to reflect on where you've come from. Sometimes getting that proof is helpful just to understand identity wise where you're at. That's something that I wanted to seek. But getting proof from the past is kind of like cotton candy. It's there, but once you eat all of it, what do you have at the end? You got nothing to show for it. So the question is if you're a victim mentality and have gone through tough stuff and you get the proof of why it happened, what are you going to do with that? That's the most important piece. What are you going to do with the proof? I knew circumstances were tough. I wanted to be like a coach I never had. I went back, I found the proof. Okay, child of an alcoholic, obese, bullied, insecure, self doubt, so on and so forth. And I took that and it fueled me to want to go through things to help other people. But really, what I was doing was trying to get back at people that hurt me the most. But after I realized where the proof was and how to use it, and to truly feed into people, and to just be a coach, and to just be better than I was yesterday, that's when I really started to impact lives. And when you're thinking about this in your own personal journey, where do you stand with that? What are you doing with that proof? Next, once you have that proof, that's when you start putting in the hard work. But remember, step one will always limit what type of hard work you can give, because if you're not willing to let go of the past, it's always going to hold you back in your performance. I see this a lot with players that I coach as they try to outperform their hurt. They out try to outperform their pain. There's no workout or supplement or recovery method besides forgiving yourself that allows you to tap into that hard work and true hard work mentality. Just remember that nothing you accomplish will overcome what has hurt in the past to where you felt like a victim. Whatever that hardest of hard is, it will never be overcome by a trophy or a banner. That's the last piece is become a victor in your life, not a victim. One of the best quotes I've heard recently is if you can look up, you can get up. And this concept of positive and projecting what you're capable of, isn't that what life is really all about? Isn't that where we find joy? Is being able to find some of these silver linings in where we've gone and where we've been and where we want to go. So, whether you're a teenager just trying to figure out life in the high school world or an adult figuring out career and family and marriage or whatever it may be, if you're feeling overwhelmed by the noise and expectations of the world at any stage of life, seeking a pivot more towards a fulfilling future, that's where projecting a positive outcome and what's possible will emphatically change your life. Now, this shift in mindset isn't going to be a game changer for you in the next 3 to 5 minutes. But what if you start projecting possibility this next week? What if you decide to say, I'm really not looking forward to tomorrow, but Friday, I'm going to get together with my friends. We're going to have a good time. But how I approach Monday through Thursday will allow Friday to be awesome. But because I know Friday is going to be awesome, I'm going to work through those days knowing that I have something to look forward to in the future. We all have energy and output, and that energy and output can go either into the rock pile in one hand or the rock pile in the other, positive or negative. When we decide to move the rocks into the favor of positively projecting what we want to do in our life, it will emphatically change every moment to allow you to be present, to allow you to go work hard without having the monkey on your back or the anchor at your ankles to take you away from what you can do. So that's where I challenge you as a listener. Let's stop playing the victim mentality. Let's break free from those shackles. Let's project the possibility of what we can do in the present, in the future, and let's go work our tails off to go change our lives and live extraordinary. We are called to live extraordinary. You are extraordinary, and don't let anybody ever take that away from you. Listen, if this BTB episode impacted you, do me a favor, like and subscribe to the BTB Project. Better yet, send this message to a family member, friend, or colleague. Tell them how projecting possibility can impact their life. There's a lot of people out there right now that are struggling. Listen, I'm one that is struggling, always looking to try to be better than yesterday. But in order to do that, it's putting yourself around the people that you know can help you and doing life together. And I hope this episode brings together the BTB community and that we continue to project what's possible for years and years to come. I'm proud of each and every one of you. And until next time, take care.